trust is without borders.
Hi everyone, I'm Dola from Project Bear, and I want to kick off my series of videos on grief and the stages of grief, kind of exploring something that I think everyone who's dealing with grief, whether it's the loss of a parent, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a child, has to deal with at one time or another. But I think it's a topic that is extremely painful for baby loss families, mothers and fathers, grandparents and siblings to deal with. And it's basically the weight of other people's judgments on how you grieve and how you honor your child. Now, the reason why I say it's especially painful for baby loss families to deal with this topic is because it can very much feel like people are telling you that your baby didn't actually exist, especially if you have had a miscarriage or a stillbirth. It seems like they're saying you're not actually a parent to that child, that child doesn't really matter. Why are you celebrating that child? Why are you honoring that child? It wasn't even a baby. It was just a clump of cells. Or, you have other living children. Celebrate them. Maybe you don't have other living children. You're not a parent. And it really feels like that they weren't that important. But I'm here to tell you they are important. They are your baby. Whether you had a miscarriage at 8 weeks or a stillbirth at 37 weeks like I did with my Jeremiah, or you had a child die at 3 months from SIDS. Each loss is different, but it's a loss of a child, of a baby. And you don't need to carry the weight of other people telling you how you need to grieve your loss or how you need to honor your child. You are their parent. People will say that how you grieve may be unhealthy. That's not for them to decide. Now, if you feel that you are stuck, if you feel that how you are grieving is unhealthy, please talk to someone. Because depression is a stage of grief. And depression is real. And it can be very dangerous, especially because grief is isolating. And you might tend to not want to talk to anyone else. And then it can be very lonely. Please, if you feel that you are in that place, find someone to talk to, whether it's your spouse, a parent, or actually someone who is a grief counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. Please find someone to talk to. Grief is hard. You don't have to do it alone. But if you feel that you are grieving in a healthy way, if you feel that you are honoring your child in a way that is healthy and helping you move forward, helping your family remember that child who is a part of you and will always be a part of you. You will always be their parent. You don't have to forget about your baby. Don't let other people tell you you need to move on. They were your baby. You are their mother, their father. It's okay to remember them. And it's okay to remember them in a way that you feel is healthy. Let me tell you some of the ways that I remember Jeremiah and Vincent with my family. First of all, on their birthdays, we go to the cemetery as a family. We release balloons, and we used to sing happy birthday. We don't necessarily always do that anymore because our kids are getting a little bit older. We do pray, and we say the Lord's Prayer. And then we go out to dinner as a family, or lunch as a family, and spend time together. We don't talk about Jeremiah and Vincent a lot. We don't cry really much at all. We used to when it was closer to the loss, but now it's more just spending time as a family. I also have a playlist on Spotify of a bunch of songs that, for whatever reason, remind me of Jeremiah and or Vincent. And sometimes I'll just listen to that playlist, usually around their birthdays. Some of the songs still make me cry. Some of them don't anymore. For instance, one of the songs is Mama by Boys to Men. And the reason why I have that on the playlist, and it's probably one of the songs that makes me cry the most, is because when I was riding in the ambulance with Vincent to the hospital, it actually came on the radio. And I thought that it felt like it was a message from Vincent to me. Because he was 13 days old when he died. And he couldn't talk. So it was like a reminder that he was still my son and that he loved me. So I listen to that song sometimes, and it obviously makes me emotional. And that doesn't mean that I'm in an unhealthy place, because he was my son, and that's okay that I get emotional listening to a song that reminds me about him. We celebrate the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, which is October, and we do the Wave of Light on October 15th. We have 2 candles, one for Vincent, one for Jeremiah, and we light the candle at 7, and we let both of them burn until 8 o'clock. We say a prayer when we light them, and then that's kind of it. We don't cry a lot. We don't talk much about Jeremiah and Vincent during that time. It's just a way to remember them and all of the babies that are no longer here with us. And of course, I started Project Bear in 2009 to honor Jeremiah, and we continue in Vincent's memory as well, to actually help other people who have lost babies like we have to be comforted and to know that they're not alone. And I started this YouTube channel so that I can reach others who are maybe like you, who needs to know that you're not alone. And one more thing, it's important to remember that grief is a journey. It doesn't have to stay the same. How I was in the beginning in 2008 and 2009 when I lost Jeremiah and Vincent is not how I am now. There are generally 5 stages of grief. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I will explore them in my later videos. It doesn't have to look the same. Whatever step you're on, it's okay. If you're in that stage where it's too painful to go to the cemetery, that's okay. If you're in the stage where you want to listen to songs that make you cry, that's okay. Don't let anyone hurry you through your grief journey, your grief process. Everyone grieves differently. And what I think is when other people are trying to put that judgment on you and say, you're unhealthy, you're morbid, this isn't right, you shouldn't be doing this right now, you should have moved on by now, it's been 6 months, it's been 2 years, it's been a decade. I think there's 2 reasons maybe possible for the way they're reacting to that. And I think one of them is either they have not experienced that type of loss yet. The kind of loss that shatters your heart completely. So they don't really understand what it's like to keep living when your heart is not right. When your heart is completely broken. When a piece of you is no longer there. And that can be the same for someone who's lost a parent or a spouse or a sibling, but definitely for a parent who's lost a child. And the second reason, I think, is maybe they have experienced a loss like that, but they didn't deal with it. And seeing you deal with your loss brings up emotions for them that they don't want to deal with because it's too painful. So I think that maybe we can give them a little bit of grace and hope that they never have to deal with the kind of pain and suffering that we are going through. Because I know I would never wish this on my worst enemy. But also realize that if they have dealt with something like this, that maybe they need a little bit of extra grace. Although it's not our job to deal with them in a way that hinders our own healing process. We are not responsible for other people and their reactions to us. I do believe we need to be cognizant of how other people feel, but we're not responsible for their reactions to us. In conclusion, you don't need to wear the weight of anyone else's judgments. If they don't like how you are celebrating or remembering or grieving your child, so what? Whether it's somebody on the internet or somebody at Thanksgiving dinner, it's not their life. It wasn't their baby. So in the comments, let's support one another and celebrate our children. Let's say how we remember them. I've told you how I remember Jeremiah and Vincent. Do you have any songs that you listen to? Do you have any traditions? Do you go to the cemetery? Do you release balloons? Do you release lanterns, butterflies? Do you do a walk to remember? Let me know in the comments down below. And let's support one another and remember that everyone's grief is their own. Everyone's grief is as unique as the baby that we lost. So have a great day, and just know that I'm praying for you all. Thanks.
Can't leave me when my trust is with